Hey y'all, it's your legal bestie attorney Simone, and this is another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? And today on today's docket, we're going to hop right in, y'all. We've got the tariff plan, the fact that the tariffs that we're dealing with, y'all, were created by a fraudster. We've got more baby mama drama with Anthony Edwards, as well as we are going to break down from a legal standpoint the Kenya Brittany Eady drama from Real Housewives. So let us know where you're viewing us from as you come on in. And this episode is going to be fairly short. It will probably be about 30-40 minutes because tonight is also the championship NCAA basketball game. I am recording live from Houston, Texas, and the University of Houston Cougars are actually in the game. I was shocked. It is so rare that an NCAA playoff game will actually be in the same town as one of the teams, but that's what we're dealing with. And if you are a girl like over the age of 30 and you want to meet a man, this is your night to go to a sports bar. Okay, you don't even need to know what's going on. Get your little self over to a sports bar because that's where the gentleman's is going to be at. Okay, great. All right. So first off, don't forget, you can always book a consultation with me by going to my website, which is right here, SimoneRedwine.com. And you can go to the site. You can order my ebook, which is Background Checks 101, the beginner's guide to figuring out who the heck you're really dealing with. I am also rolling out a course. This summer, I'm going to be rolling out a course where literally I will be teaching you how to run background checks on your loved ones, on other people's loved ones, whomever. But this is to keep you guys safe. And don't forget, each week, Jessie Woo and I will be doing a background check episode where this is the book that you can get. It's actually only $19.99. I need to update the site. It's $19.99. It's an ebook. You'll get it emailed to you. Once you go through PayPal, it'll come right to you. And you can also schedule a consultation, go down further to book Simone, and my little calendar is here on my website. Book or hire Simone. Consultations start at only $149, and I do them for people throughout the nation. So I don't do them internationally, but if you're having an issue with someone in America, we can create legal strategy for your specific problem. This is completely confidential, and no, it will not be featured on any episodes. Okay, so that we can jump in. As well, Jessie Woo and we are rolling out. I have been doing background checks, and I love me some Jessie Woo, and she is going to be partnering with me on her channel where we offer viewers free background checks on a person of their choice. Literally, it could be your best friend, could be dating someone, and you feel like that guy doesn't seem to be, who he's claiming to be. We do the background check, and then you come on the show, and we give you the results live. Now, we do allow you to be anonymous if you want. We prefer that you don't, just because it makes it easier and more fun. But what we do is we do keep the target. We keep them anonymous. Now, if they have gone out and done a TV interview, that's not our fault. Okay, right? They've already put their identity out there. But as far as the average person, right, we redact birthdays, we redact case information so that it's not absolutely clear. But our goal is to help you have a better idea of who you're dealing with, to keep everyone safe, and so that, you guys don't make some of the mistakes that I've made in my dating life and so many of the rest of us have made. So again, that's going to be this week. I'm not sure if we're going to do Wednesday or maybe Thursday, because Jessie Woo is booked and busy. We've got a scheduling thing. But also, if you want to be on one of those episodes, in the description below, I've got a link to win a free background check. Click that link, insert the information, and we'll go from there. All right, let's hop into it. So let's switch. We're going back to the docket. Here we go. So we've got the tariff plan, the fact that it was created by a fraudster. Y'all, child, this is just insane. Totally insane. So let me go back here. So remember with the tariff plan, I'm going to make this bigger too over here. So remember with the tariff plan, the overall gist of what Trump was saying is this whole plan is to bring jobs back to America. He was claiming that we're being taken advantage of by other countries and that he doesn't want that for us, blah, 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 blah. Now, I just want to share with you this little fun fact that I found on the internet, but also found astonishing. And it is from Forbes.com. So people are like, especially his supporters. And if you're one of those, this is not bashing you. This is talking about literally how these work, the strategy of them. Here we go. Maybe I did it as a screenshot. Well, anyway, I'll go back to it. Basically, people are like, oh yeah, we've got to go back to, making everything here, making all this stuff in America. Y'all, I got to let me put this photo up for you just so you can see. When I saw this, I felt like it was so astonishing. Let me, hold on. I'm going to share this. Y'all got to see this. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Here we go. And here we go. I got it from, it's from Forbes. Here we go. As an example of this is what would happen if we were to do everything in America. An iPhone. Many people have like, oh, an iPhone would be $5,000. Right now it's around $1,000. Actually, the answer is no. It would actually be from the $30,000 to $100,000 range, y'all. Hit that like as you join us. So according to Forbes magazine, how much would an iPhone cost if Apple were forced to make it in America? This year, as of now, it would be between $30,000 and $100,000 range. And no, it's not a typo. Forbes magazine says, in fact, if Apple was forced to solely manufacture the iPhone in America, there's a good argument that it would not be able to manufacture any at all. And if they could somehow successfully make that manufacturing transition, capacity would likely be constrained to just a few million units a year. Let's not forget the fact that it would be cheaper for other people or for people to simply get on a plane and go buy one from the UK. Because remember, the UK isn't putting these tariffs on. So with iPhones, for example, Apple could continue to make them in Vietnam or China and those variations, sell them to everyone else for cheap. So of course, Americans would go to Mexico, go to Canada to buy our products. But here's a breakdown from, this is, what's her name? This is Rachel Maddow. I need you to see how Rachel Maddow, here we go, breaks down the explanation of how it is that Trump developed his theory from the beginning. Y'all, you get to see this. You get to see this. This is and make sure let me know you can hear me.
Do you remember where Trump got the tariff thing from in the first place? Do you remember like when and why and how we started talking about tariffs in the first place? It was in his first campaign for president. Trump didn't really have any formal economic advisors. So he told his son-in-law, Jared, to find him an economic advisor. Trump reportedly
gave some ideas of
what his thoughts were on economic issues. Something, make me look tough, China bad, something. Jared then decided to find his father-in-law a financial advisor for his presidential campaign by going on the Amazon.com website and starting to browse books. Not like reading the books, because you can't do that on the Amazon website. He was just looking at the covers, looking at the titles. And he found a book title that he thought was so cool. The title was Death by China. Oh my God, that's so cool. That's so awesome. And that apparently was it. Quote from Vanity Fair. Trump gave Jared a summary of his views and then asked him to do some research. Kushner simply went on Amazon, where he was struck by the title of one book, Death by China, co-authored by a man named Peter Navarro. Jared then cold called Navarro, a well-known trade deficit hawk who agreed to join the team as an economic advisor. Navarro was a major advocate for an aggressive pro-tariff policy. Where did Peter Navarro get his idea that tariffs would be a good policy for America?
Now, mind this, like, and this guy, Peter Navarro, is doing interviews day and day night on Fox.
From a real expert.
He got this from an expert.
At least a half dozen of his books, including the one that Jared found on Amazon, That Fateful Day. In all of his books, Peter Navarro has cited an economics expert to justify his views. And the economics expert he cites is somebody named Ron Vera.
Now keep in mind, this guy's views, the reason they're controversial is he doesn't look at tariffs as the actual amount another country is charging us to import our stuff. No. He calculates it based on the trade surplus or the deficit, basically, whether we import too much from them and they don't buy as much from us. But we all know Americans don't want to buy everything from America ourselves because we can't make it cheaper. We have minimum wage. So it's no wonder that a lot of poor countries like Vietnam or China don't buy every single thing from us either. So here's the expert. Check this out.
Ron Vera. When Trump won the presidency and entered the White House, this Ron Vera started circulating a memo around Washington in support of Trump using tariffs in trade policy. According to the New York Times, the memo had been, quote, sent from an email address purportedly belonging to Ron Vera. At one point, Ron Vera wrote in the memo that Trump could, quote, ride the tariffs to victory. The problem is Ron Vera doesn't exist. He never has. The economics expert that Peter Navarro has long cited to explain why he's so gung-ho on tariffs, this person, Ron Vera, is a made-up person. He is a fictional person. Peter Navarro invented Ron Vera as his expert source so he could quote this expert source over and over and over again in his crackpot books. Who is Ron Vera? Ron Vera is an anagram of Navarro, which is his last name.
Look at that. Literally.
My name anagrams to Macho Waddler, but I don't see myself trying to talk to
Insane.
you.
So in other words, because nobody knew who Navarro was, and no one cares who he was. It's not like he was a Harvard scholar. He had no research behind this. He had nothing, right? Because no one knew or cared who he was. He knew that in order to get credibility, he needed to cite a so-called expert. Because he couldn't cite an expert, because his theory, the exact theory he's applying to the U.S. trade tariffs that we're dealing with right now, because it's a dumb theory, that's why he couldn't get any experts to co-sign it. And now they're applying it on the United States of America simply due to the fact that this is how Jared Kushner literally had to, on the fly, help his father-in-law come up with a trade strategy because on the campaign trail, he had none. Yes. Yes. So the source doesn't exist. It is a fraud. This is a fraud. Mr. Navarro is a fraud. Yes. So why we're listening to a fraudster and not calling out the fraudster for who he is, I'm not sure. But he actually works in the Trump administration. And you know what? And while we're here, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this other clip for you that a friend of mine from law school sent me. That this blew me. So as we talk about, remember throughout the administration, they're also talking about DEI. Don't worry, we're going to get to the other topics. We have not gotten to Kenya yet. And we haven't gotten to Anthony Edwards. But, you know, they're talking about DEI and they're basically using the term DEI interchangeably to say that Black people, if we have that job or a woman has that job, can't possibly be qualified. We must be a DEI hire. Well, I want you to hear this interview with a gentleman who is currently up for appointment that Trump wants to hire to be the head of the EPA, okay? The head of the EPA. This gentleman is a Caucasian gentleman who has gone to law school, only practiced for 1 year, and if he gets the role, he will be at the EPA over 200 lawyers. Here's a clip.
Here in 6 months practicing law for that firm in Buffalo, correct?
So wait a minute. He started by working for a law firm in Buffalo, New York. Who cares about Buffalo? Nobody. I went to Cornell Law in Ithaca, New York. I know nobody cares about Buffalo. So he's worked for a law firm for 1 year and 6 months.
I was located in that firm in Buffalo, yes, Senator.
Yeah. And you were terminated by that firm after 1 year and 6 months?
That is correct, Senator.
Have you practiced law anywhere else other than that?
Fired.
As an associate in the firm that terminated you
Fired.
and in the solar company where you supervised no lawyers?
Senator, I have not.
So wait a minute. Let me tell you, it is so hard to get fired after 1 year from a law firm unless you suck. Unless you suck. Law firms tell you they generally give you about 3 years because of the amount that they pay you and the amount of time it takes to teach you how to do it. You're literally not profitable to the third year. The fact that they let him go after 1 year and 6 months meant he was such a waste of resources that they saw no hope in him. And you know how hard that is for a Caucasian guy who literally looks like the rest of the partners and their sons and their homeboys? Keep listening.
Apart from your associate experience in Buffalo and the solar company, have you practiced law in any other place?
I've not, Senator, but I was at the agency before in the first Trump administration.
Not in a legal position?
That's correct, Senator.
Have you ever taken a deposition?
I have not, Senator. This is probably the closest I've ever come to that.
Y'all, not taking a deposition? Are you kidding me? You can take depositions as interns while in law school if you're working for a law firm. Like you would assist with it. You wouldn't be the only one, but that is literally baby lawyering.
Have you ever tried a case to verdict?
No, Senator.
Have you ever argued a motion?
I have not,
in
Senator.
court?
But as you
You know what a motion in limine is?
I do vaguely, yes.
Have you ever authored and signed a legal pleading?
I have not, Senator. But
A legal pleading, that's a petition. That's the document to open a case. That would be a motion. That would be even just a notice of hearing. Like you definitely do that your first month of practice. And paralegals do that, right? They work with lawyers and the lawyers sign their name to it. But it's so basic.
There was a gap of several years between your graduation from law school
Several years.
and when you entered the bar in Washington, D.C. During that period, did you take the bar and fail to pass?
I did one time, Senator.
All right. So this is the guy, Trump's nominee for the top legal
You
job
spent 1 year.
at the EPA, supervising 200 lawyers. This is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, when he wants to dismantle the EPA. This is the best way to do it, is you put someone in charge of people who know what they're doing, and that person doesn't know what they're doing because they're going to drive everyone crazy. If you've ever worked at a job where your boss had less education than you and less experience than you, then you would know what hell that is, because you're going to be consistently telling your boss, hey, we can't do that. That's not legal. That's not how it works. But because they don't know how it works either, and they have zero experience, not just with the EPA, but zero experience not only being a practicing lawyer, being a what's called litigating lawyer, that's the lawyers that go to court, and the EPA is always in court because people are suing or claiming, or the EPA is supposed to bring lawsuits on behalf of citizens to keep us healthy and safe. If you don't know how to do that, then literally you're going to be Trump's pawn or the businessman's pawn who don't want regulation and want everything to go through. Whereas the people that are working from you literally are going to be all the time being like, what the hell is going on here? So I just wanted to give you this as an example. It said, what did the liar do to get fired? Who knows? Great question. I would love for the firm to tell us. It says, I mean, most places, the people who actually know want to do the work. Yeah, he looks like one of those Trump boys. So the next time someone tells you that you are a DEI hire or a woman or a brown person, point to this. At the end of the day, if he wasn't one of Trump's homies, he would have never been placed in this role. Never. It says, yeah, I've worked consultants versus actual professionals. He wasn't even a consultant. He wasn't. So his experience, he worked. What happens is when you get pushed out of a law firm, sometimes you'll go work for a company and just use your JD as like a master's degree. It sounds like that's what he did. He went to work for a solar energy company. That doesn't qualify you to be the head of the EPA. Are you crazy? Adasham said, yep, I worked in a job where my boss didn't know what he was doing and wanted to always ask me things that he should have known. I just played stupid. No help from me. Nope, exactly. So that's just one example. Here we go. That's just one example. Now, so again, play this clip to anybody who was like, oh, DEI hire. This is a clip you want to show it to him. Now, moving right along. Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards, he is the basketball player who is up to allegedly 4 children. He's got one he's had the same girlfriend during all these kids, allegedly. And he was most recently in the news because he has a child with this beautiful woman, Aisha Howard. Aisha Howard also has an older child with Chief Keef. Well, he was in the news because of both Aisha Howard and another one of his baby moms, a girl that goes by the name Paige Jordan, have claimed that he tried to pay them to get rid of the baby. Now, they posted text messages, da-da-da. Now, the other girl, I want to say Paige Jordan, Lord, bless her little heart. While he's telling her, she's very early on pregnant, he's telling her, I don't want it, don't keep it. She literally is sending him photos of mixed babies. Like, but look, isn't it so cute? Girl, this man said he don't want a baby with you because he has a girlfriend and a life and all these things. And you're sending him photos of little mixed babies, trying to persuade him. Oh, how cute. Being a single mom isn't cute. It's a lot of work. And so that was a component of why it hit the media, but also because, now that this has been out, it's impacting his image. Some moms don't want their sons to buy his shoes because he's a deadbeat. He has now gone to the court and told the judge to give sole custody to Aisha, and for the other woman, I don't know how far along they are on that case, but he said he doesn't want anything to do with the kids. Now, I'm going to give him this credit. He told those women at times when it was early enough for them to do something about it and make a choice. In college, I had a homeboy who got his girlfriend pregnant, didn't want it. And I told him, one of the kindest things you can do, and it was early on, I don't know, maybe like a month. I said, one of the kindest things you can do is be real with her, because she was trying to convince him, like, hey, they can move in together. He could quit the basketball team. Mind you, I went to a D1 school with a great team. She was like, you could quit the basketball team. We can move in together. We can be a family. We can make it work. And I was like, the hell you can. And he was like, absolutely not. This is what he told her. He said, I'm going to be real with you. If you want to have this baby, I'm going to be honest, my life is going to continue. I'm not quitting the basketball team because this is how I would make a future for the child. He said, I'm going to continue living in the dorm. I'm going to travel with my team. I'm going to go out of town. I'm going to give you what I can. But as you know, as a basketball player, I can't even earn a lot of money. I found out back then, basketball players, because they couldn't earn money, they only had to pay like $50 a month in child support, which was disgusting because obviously the young lady has to sacrifice. And so he told her, your life is going to change dramatically. You're probably going to have to go move in with your mom. You may have to quit school. You may have to drop out, lose your scholarship at this private university they were at, and transfer. He went to a different school and transfer, blah, blah, blah. But he spit it to her so honestly that she was able to make the best decision for herself. She chose not to have it. But I've always said, I do think that it sucks if the guy's like, I ain't going to participate, right? But if that's going to be your reality, it's better that they tell you while you have options and earlier on, so you can prepare your mom, prepare your granny, prepare yourself for single mom life, versus selling you a gosh darn dream, making you think you're going to have support that you don't, and then convincing you to make a decision, based on an untrue set of facts. Now, that's just what I'm saying. Like, if I had a son, I would want him to be honest with the girl on what her life would look like if he's not playing. I wouldn't let my son quit school. I'm like, you still gonna go to school. You're gonna get an internship. You're gonna give her 20% of your income for the baby, blah, 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 blah. And it's not going to be, and chances are we're each going to date different people. Life may bring us back together, but if your goal is a family, this is not the route to do so, ma'am, and explore their options. That's what I would do if I had a son. But what we're going to go to, it says, the more you know, the earlier, the better. Yeah. Sometimes having a child can, what does it say? At least the more you know, especially ain't no village. Is the rumor true? Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. Is the rumor true about the one-time payment? So the answer is no. So the rumor is that he approached her, that he paid $1.8 million or $1,080,000 to her up front for all the child support for this kid for life. So what I want to break down is, first, she's responded and said, no, it's not true. But I want to let you know, here's the tea. Here's the legal tea. Even if she has, and girl, if you're listening, somebody send this to Aisha if you know her. Girl, if he offers it, take it. Here's why. It doesn't limit you from going back and getting an increase later on down the line. See, currently, he is earning $42 million a year. He's got a 5-year contract. It's supposed to go up a little bit next year, the next year, and the next year. Now, if he were to pay all the child support up front for 18 years, unless the court's order said this amount is a full and final order for the next 18 years of the kid's life, which the mama would also have to agree to, unless it says that, all it would do is give him a credit. It would give him a credit. So later down the line, if he gets a $225 million contract, baby, she'd go right back on it. Let's say the kid is 5. She'd go right back to that courthouse, ask for an increase based on the $225 million deal, and she would get a credit for the $1 million he's already paid, and he would be ordered to pay the rest on whatever payment plan that the court comes up with, right? But on the contrary, when he stops playing, and I don't want this for this young boy, but he seemed kind of dumb. So it seems like it would not be unusual that when he stops playing, he very well could go broke, depending on how he's spending his money. If that happens, he stops playing, he's gone broke, he could actually go back to the court, say he overpaid, and ask for the difference. So it's tricky in both ways. And if he asked for the difference, it would be up to the judge. Now, I could see a lot of judges saying, no, you chose to waste your money. You were making all this money and you chose to waste it and not prepare. And now you want to go back and ask the mother. But I could also see, because this is in Georgia, the same state where Tariff is at. I could also see a Georgia judge saying, well, really, a kid doesn't need $200K a month. Yeah, run him some of that money back. And then she'd be in a bind if she don't got that money still. So put your questions in the chat. Yes. So a lot of people don't realize you can overpay and you can underpay. In both instances, you're allowed to, both sides can go to the court, complain with the judge. Shout out to two of my favorite family lawyers in Houston who helped me with this to confirm all of this. Attorney Kara, I'm going to list her law firm at the bottom, as well as Brenda's my lawyer on Instagram. Follow them both. They're amazing. But yeah, personally, I was surprised to learn that he could go back and get a credit, because I have a feeling that man's going to go broke eventually. Let us know what you think in the comments. All right. And then last but not least, ciao. Kenya. Let me see what comments y'all got before we hop into Kenya. I don't see the appeal in him. He doesn't sound like a good person. He sounds like a clown. Oh, yes. No, this is great. Important. Miss Jackson, didn't she move to California to give birth? Here's what and I'm actually waiting for those California records. So she was upset because California has the highest child support calculations of anywhere in America. If you remember Terrell Owens, who used to play for the Cowboys, he ended up making 5 kids and then going broke, and he stopped playing. The judge in California said, I don't care that you're not playing anymore. No, I'm not reducing your child support, because you, sir, should have planned financially your future better for your children. I also have a homeboy in California. He used to pay, y'all, this was in 2005. He paid $32,000 a month in child support for 3 kids, $25,000 to one mother who had 2 of them. And then I guess it was $12,000 to another mother. The other mother that just had the one, he didn't even know that was his kid till that kid was 8 years old. The woman was in a relationship with someone else, had thought that was the child's father. Baby, that was the baby daddy. They lived together, They ended up breaking up. And when they broke up, he demanded a paternity test. And that was how they found out the basketball player was truly his father, not the other. It was a whole big old mess. And ultimately, this basketball player, he had like a $5 million a year contract. And what really screwed him financially is that ultimately, although he was from Florida, I'm not going to give his name, he was from Florida, and he played in other states. He played in New York and other states. California tried to get him for $400,000 in unpaid taxes, claiming that when he went to Europe, he went and played in Europe for 3 months, that when he went to Europe, he had created a California residency because he had 2 California baby mamas, and he was paying California child support. So even though it was only he played 6 weeks that's what it was. He played 6 weeks with Sacramento Kings, then got cut, went abroad, and then was abroad for 3 months. They took all his salary for the next year and claimed California was his residence, even though it was truly Florida. Florida doesn't require income taxes, so he had no proof he paid income tax elsewhere. I just say that as an example of how tough California is. So she moved to California even before the baby was born. Generally, the law is wherever the kid is located and where the kid lives is the state you use to calculate child support. So I have to find out here, but Anthony is claiming Anthony was successfully able to transfer the case to Georgia. I believe in part it was because the baby mom, Aisha, ran out of money to fight the case, because I saw that her attorney withdrew, and a component of why he withdrew appears to be payment. Because again, he hadn't given her no money. So these lawyers, I could see the retainer easily being $30,000. All right, what do we got? Hit that like button as you come on in. Yep, somebody said I need to move to Cali. What a mess. Folks just be putting fluids anywhere. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. What's the Attorney General's office? Oh, the Attorney General's office of every withholds child support earnings and cuts child support checks. So that's part of what they do. Could have done all that work protecting oneself from pregnancy and disease. I know that's right. Well, especially him. So now he's got 2 women on the hook. Currently, here's the finale. Currently, the young lady, Aisha, she just filed a motion with the court to get child support set for the child. And it appears that she's looking for the court to set it pursuant to their range. And she's expecting approximately $100,000 per month. Now, mind you, he makes $42,000 per year guaranteed for the next, he's got 4 more years of that this year. And I think last year and whatever, 3 or 4 more years of that. So 42 million. She wants 100,000 a month or whatever the court calculates. If you've seen my video on Tariff, I'll link it. You see, I broke down how Georgia courts calculate it. Basically, they use a base of $3,000 a month. And then depending on how much more money that person makes, the dad makes, they go from that. Let me be clear. Child support is not calculated based on so-called the needs of the everyday child. No, because historically and literally always, the more you earn, the more you spend on your child. It's just common sense. People who earn $5 million don't generally send their kid to an underfunded public school. Not only that, like people were like, oh, with Tyrese's case, they were like, a child doesn't need $10,000 a month or whatever she was asking for, 10, 12. Listen, your broke kid don't need 10 a month, but these rich kids do. How do you think these kids get trust funds? The trust fund is created from child support. And a child with wealthy parents should not receive a trust fund that other kids of that same earning potential would receive simply because the daddy is mad at the mom. And we all know trust funds cannot be accessed until certain deliverables, turning 18, going to college, turning 25, continuing college. Aisha said the 10K goes fast. No, Aisha said, but 100,000, that's some good money. So I just want to be clear. It's based on the fact that the more you earn, so that's how come child support is generally 20% of your income. Both parents' income in most places, 20%. But Georgia does this thing where they lump the two together, so her income won't matter. But it's 20% because the more you earn, the more you spend on your child. And people are thinking about, like, what are you shelling out monthly? But you're not thinking, my nieces go to a first grade that's $30,000 a year. His kids will probably be going to $30,000 a year. You know what else goes into that? Literally, the judge broke it down in Tyrese and said things like, it's expected they're going to go for spring break. They're probably going to go to Europe. They're not just going to Granny's house in Athens, Georgia. They're probably going to go to Europe. They may go to, all of these, they will study abroad. They're going to do a variety of things. Also, that a portion of that money can go to saving for their college fund. In most states, including Georgia, you are not required to continue paying child support when the kid turns 18. So it is in the mom's responsibility, if that's the one collecting child support, to use portion of that child support to create a college fund. I personally don't believe you don't get to collect $100,000 a month or whatever it's going to be, $50,000 a month for 18 years, and then be like, Daddy, you need to put her through college. No, ma'am, you got college. Now, if you chose to spend college on a Bentley, that's your personal business. But courts also say you can use that money to buy a house. That's right. Some guys don't like it. You shouldn't be living the lap of luxury off mine. It's not me, it's your kid. And you chose to have a kid with me. You don't have the custody of the child. So they're under my roof. So they don't have to go back to an apartment complex or one of them pools that gets locked up in the summer because kids either keep dying in there or people put condoms and dirt and all that. I used to live in one of them apartment complexes, baby. When I was younger, we had some tough times. So I say that to say, unfortunately, people don't like hearing that when they say a kid doesn't need that. Just know you can't compare it to your broke child. You have to compare it to Bill Gates's child. You have to compare it to Steve Jobs' child. You have to compare it to other $40 million a year children. All right. Now, sorry, I got this graphic up. So now, finally, here we go. The Kenya Moore, Brittany Eady debacle. All right. So we're going to break this down from a legal standpoint, from what potentially could either side be on the hook for. So we're going to start with the clip. So here's how it all got started. I'm going to kind of give you the summary, and then we're going to show the clips. Apparently they're at this event here, and at the event, Brittany Eady makes a comment about like she's not worried about nobody trying to come at her because she totes pow pals. I'm going to play it for you. Kenya took that as a threat and felt personally attacked. She felt like, I'm the only person to care for my daughter. If you're going to attack me, I'm going to go low. So here's this caption here. Brittany wrote, "It's never a good feeling being targeted or hazed by someone I thought would embrace me into a new circle that I never met. For the record, I've never once had possession of any weapons or threatened anyone ever. I've never even been to jail in a fight or even had as much as a speeding ticket. That's not in my character. I am hurt by the narrative that's being displayed. Wrong is wrong." Here's a clip. First, I want you to watch the clip and tell me whether you feel like this is a threat.
Girl, Kenny's here. We were.
Okay, can I put this in the car?
I don't know.
I was almost. I knew I should push one. Okay, thank you.
You ready? Yeah.
I just want to put this down.
Security. Somebody find my husband. Where you at, baby?
That's Brittany.
Can I put mine here? I don't think my car is here.
You know? Okay, well, you want to get in?
Yeah.
Okay, baby, I'm ready. I had to let that bitch know. Don't play with me, bitch. She's good. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. Everything's good. Kenya, hello, ditzy ass. Like, bitch, play that shit in front of the cameras. Don't play that with me. I don't play them games.
Black girl magic.
I don't play them games. I got whip, pistols, everything.
Oh, there she goes.
Play that shit in front of them cameras. Don't play that with me.
She said, "I don't play that. I got whips and pistols, all sorts of things. Play that for the camera. Don't play with me."
They need to take this shit off.
And he said, "Your mic is on, like you cutting up." But he also was probably saying it from the perspective of she's trying to go home with the mic on. You have to return your mic before the end of the day. Aisha says, "I don't understand why they fired Kenya, though. I don't think it was reserved." Yes, correct. Thank you, RPC. Florida doesn't have income taxes. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. They don't have state taxes for your income. And so that's how come in the situation I described before, California was like, but you didn't pay income taxes, and his position is because Florida's my residency. All right. Yep. Aisha A asked, "Isn't it revenge porn?" I would definitely agree. I would agree. So do y'all think in the chat, do you think this was a threat? I'm going to play a little clip. I'm going to play it again real quick.
With her?
I guess.
Do all that fake Hollywood shit. No, this is real life. This is real life. This is real life. I don't play them type of games. You're going to be respectful. No peasants. You're going to be respectful around here. And if you don't know, you're going to learn today. Today is the day you're going to learn.
Hit that like button as you join, guys.
Kenya, you riding with us? Oh, you going now?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm sitting in the back. You can drive me. I'm Miss Daisy. I got you, honey.
She's just one of those type of people where she wants to keep poking and being dismissive, being manipulative.
Where you got thongs back here?
Where you see thongs?
Look. Oh, yeah, she said thongs. Nah, don't act like I got some hoochie mama dirty thongs right there.
Hold on, y'all.
For real? Okay, God. She was talking about I still got my pistol on me. This girl is a problem.
There we go.
She gotta go. She gotta go for real. She got the height. So please let her do something to me so she can go.
Okay, there you go. That's the part that I wanted to make sure you heard. Kenya, because I was trying to see if Kenya heard it in the moment or if it was something that one of the other ladies had told Kenya later. But no, Kenya heard it in the moment. She chose not to address her at the time, which was smart, and then speaks to the other girls about how she had done that. But then here we got the next clip. This clip is going to show, and I know it looks funny, just listen for it. But in this next clip, you're going to hear what Kenya did to respond. And it says, Kenya only comes for people who come for her. I'm Team Kenya. She maybe took it over the top, but she was provoked. Kenya said she did not get fired. She chose not to return because Britt didn't get reprimanded for her actions. Thanks, Teresa. That's critical. I don't think it was a threat. However, it was said in poor taste. All right. It says, if the reports of a producer being the one to actually give Kenya the poster board and the info, how does that change things? All right, we will adjust that. All right, now here's the other clip of what Kenya does in response.
Apologize. I just give you these.
Event.
Listen,
Now, mind you,
say I'm sorry.
Kenya had been complaining
That's cool. You can ignore
that
me. Well, I'm gonna leave these
her
flowers here.
store,
Have a
her
great
beauty
day.
salon wasn't doing as well as she had wished. So this was an event for the
I need to
salon.
get everybody's
Okay.
attention.
So this is an event that is supposed to help promote the salon, get more people in the doors, to share, tell your friends, tell a friend, da-da-da. Brittany comes and Brittany brings flowers to apologize. And here is Kenya's response.
Baby, I'm about to leave.
I need to get everybody's attention,
It
please.
was so good seeing you guys.
You tried.
I need everybody's attention, please. I want to tell you guys, I'm so happy that you guys came. This has been a labor of love for me. I have built this salon for my daughter, and I'm really proud of where I am. And I get people trying to bring me down for no reason. And I'm actually really sick of it.
Yeah. I just wanted to apologize.
I
And
know that was rude, but I'm glad
I did my part. I wanted to come in peace.
You did.
I extended the olive branch, and
did.
if she wants to ignore, that's fine.
You did.
Yeah, but I hope she reads my card. It was very thoughtful.
It was good.
Hopefully she'll read it, and
Okay.
I get situations like the other night where we were at a dinner and there was a person looking for a moment and she came for me. Surprises. And this person who just came here with these fake flowers, somebody take these and just get it on out of here. Get them somebody home without that. Because it's fake. And I don't want fake women around me.
Sir, at least let me keep the card for her.
The flowers, Kenya, like, what the flowers do to you? You got this flower wall in here. At least just put the flowers at the front door, maybe?
No, don't keep the card. Don't keep the card. Burn that. I don't want the card.
Okay.
Stay out of it. But then it escalated because I was paying her dust. Because I'm that bitch. Been that bitch. Still that bitch. I'm going to pay you dust. Then she talked about having a gun. That she keeps it on her at all times. She did. So this woman was saying all this stuff like, you don't know who the I am. I'm like, no, I don't know who you are. So I did a little research and I found out who this bitch is.
What is it?
So who is this hoe? Who is this hoe? Britt Eady is her name. This the same girl.
Oh, I'm not doing this.
We see the nose jobs, the lips, the fillers, all that.
She need to pipe down. Ooh, you're crazy. Ooh.
That's number one.
If this is just the first one, where is this going?
My good private investigators found some more evidence for me. So yeah, she used to be a video hoe. Yeah,
And I'm going to
she
answer
was
y'all's
a
questions.
trap
I see your
hoe,
questions.
Video hoe. Okay.
Kenya, my girl, like, what is happening? We are going down a rabbit hole.
I've been in some videos, but I was a leading lady. I was making stacks for an appearance.
Everybody been a hoe in their day. She been a hoe too. Come on now. I mean, here you are with this beautiful salon. We're here to celebrate you. Why the are we discussing?
I wanted to apologize.
There we
I
go.
just give you these.
All right, so y'all got that. Here's my number one thing. Kenya didn't seem very scared by that. That did not seem the response of someone who was scared and responding to a threat of fear. In fact, it sounded like she was like, oh, you're going to threaten me? I am going to checkmate you. Checkmate, boo-boo. There was nothing about that. I felt like, for number one, why invite her to the event if you're frightened of her? So I don't believe Kenya was frightened of her in any capacity. And if you were, this isn't how you protect yourself. You call them boys or you make a complaint. You make a formal complaint with Bravo. We know Bravo does investigations all the time. But what you don't do is invite them to a party and humiliate them. I guess my number one question was, how does this protect you, Kenya? How does this respond to a threat? This is not, it doesn't appear to be responding to a threat. This appears to be escalating a problem and carrying a whole different issue. Because if someone threatens me, I'm not going to run around and show you their titties. If I feel like someone has a gun, a pow or a knife, and they may be coming, first of all, I'm not inviting you to my event. But the second thing I'm not doing is run around showing people your titties. Because me showing people your titties isn't going to protect me from any risks. Hit those likes. We got 270 watching y'all, but we only got 100 likes. Yeah, she was, Addison says Kenya wasn't scared. She was being Kenya. Sexy Blonde says she was, I think Kenya was offended. Kenya felt disrespected, and she chose to disrespect her in response to the disrespect that she felt. And I think what really elevated it is Kenya, likely from what she's communicated, felt like, listen, I'm an OG on this show. How dare you allow a newbie to talk to me this way, to threaten me and or, my daughter. She didn't mention the girl's daughter. She just mentioned her. But I think it was more a respect issue. And sometimes what happens is when you get pissed off at production for allowing a castmate to get away with something, then what you do is you turn up on the castmate. And in this case, it appears that her response was not consistent with the threat that she was approached. Now, she could have filed a police report, baby, because that could be seen as what's called making terroristic threats. Making terroristic, I know, because my granddaddy, I did a background check on him and found out he was on probation for it. That is when you say, I'm going to get this pow and I'm going to do something to you. It could also be insinuated. So here, where she was basically, Brittany, was insinuating, oh, well, if she cuts up, I got whips and chains and I got a pow. That arguably could be seen as making terroristic threats. So a more clever way to handle it was go right on downtown, or even go to the local police station. We have like all these little satellite stations, and do your little police report. And then give a copy of that to Bravo, because they're your job. Ultimately, I believe that Bravo's response was that they then suspended Kenya for, it appears to be for the rest of the season. Kenya has not been fired for life. It was apparently for this season and this season only, because one of the photos that was put up was Brittany Eady giving fellatio to somebody. We don't know whether it was her husband or not, someone. Now, I believe the number one reason that they terminated Kenya for the season is simply it's a litigation risk. They had no choice. In this instance, because revenge porn is illegal and sexual harassment will get you sued, this actually, because they were working together, is sexual harassment. It is no different, guys, than if someone sexual harasses you and you work at Xerox or IBM or Amazon or whatever. This was sexual harassment. And if you do not punish the aggressor when it's clear, then the company can get sued for millions. And it's my understanding that Britt Eady had her lawyer send a letter to Bravo saying basically they better not air that on TV, which makes sense. They did not. And as a newbie, I can tell you, she's not going to sue Bravo. Brittany is not going to sue Bravo if she wants to come back. But this is the way that Bravo is able to prevent a bigger lawsuit. See, Kenya wouldn't have any grounds to sue Bravo simply for Brittany saying, I got whips, I got chains, I got a pow. That is not actionable. If you are dealing with some type of threat, like that was an improper comment that she could have been penalized for perhaps, but that is not something where it would have given the rise to the ability to sue Bravo. She perhaps could have sued Brittany for that, but not Bravo, due to the fact that it was a one-off comment. A court is not going to make a TV show responsible for all of the off-the-fly comments on a reality show. But I'm looking at the comments too. Yeah, I think what people are forgetting is that it's sexual harassment, that women can sexually harass one another And this would be an example. So if you work at a job and someone found a D pic of you and showed it around the office, that's sexual harassment to anybody who didn't want to look at that. And it's sexual harassment to whoever's body that was who did not consent. Now, we got a great question. This question has been asked a few different times in a few different ways. Is it revenge porn if it was already out in the public? The answer is yes. Here's why. It's still revenge porn because you don't know how it got into the public. Remember back in the day with Girls Gone Wild, and it was taking videos of girls on spring break, and then they would sell them and make them in videos? So many lawsuits arose because those women say they did not consent to that video being public. So similarly, yes, that might be on some website out there, whether it's a porn, whether it's OnlyFans, whatever. But if you did not consent to it being posted in the first place, number one, yes, it's revenge porn. Number two, even if, let's say it was posted on OnlyFans, let's say Britt had an OnlyFans, it is still can be considered revenge porn because the terms and conditions for OnlyFans is that is only to be shared with a subscriber. So if Kenya wasn't a subscriber and that subscribers cannot share it, license it, or do anything else with someone else's stuff. That's how come you don't see other people's OnlyFans stuff just floating around on the internet. If you see it like on Twitter, it's usually the person whose OnlyFans page it is that's posting it themselves. They can do that. But it absolutely is revenge porn, even if it was in the public, because for two reasons. You don't have permission to reshare it. And you don't know that whoever initially shared it did so with permission. So for example, but let me give you another example. If someone, you can't see that kind of thing on YouTube, but if someone voluntarily put it on YouTube, or even let's say Twitter, voluntarily put it on their Twitter page, and then you shared it, you retweeted it from Twitter, no, that is not revenge porn. Because by pasting it on Twitter, the Twitter terms and conditions say that someone can retweet it, someone can reshare, and that's common knowledge. There's no expectation of privacy. Revenge porn is for photos in which there is an expectation of privacy between you and whoever you've shared it with, and someone else has violated that. Could Britt go after Kenya's PI for distributing the photos? PIs we have really special protections under the law because that PI was hired by Kenya to do a job and they found public information. Now, if they in some way got their hands on private information, then the answer would be yes. If, for example, if those photos were given to an ex-boyfriend privately and that PI paid for those photos from the ex-boyfriend, knowing that ex-boyfriend did not have permission to sell the photos, then yes, they could be in trouble. For passing it along. So I guess that would be one example. This was during the Reality Reckoning 2. The heat had been on Bravo for a while. Exactly. Bravo had all these lawsuits that they were dealing with about having a toxic work environment, blah, blah, blah. So what Bravo had to do was to handle this in a strong, public, and aggressive way so as to dispute claims of a hostile work environment. Otherwise, other people who are bringing those claims could have pointed to this and been like, look what you did here. Now, I do recall that Kenya had made statements about how on other shows, there was another show where some men shared what appeared to be sexual video of one of the other women on Housewives of New Jersey, and that man did not get put off the show. Now, here's two things that are different. It was shared among castmates. It was not posted on the screen for America to see the revenge porn, but those men should have been punished too. And I don't know what their punishment. I've seen somewhere that someone says, yes, one of the guys was punished. But again, when it's not a main character, it's more difficult to punish them because we don't see them every episode anyway. And they're paid minor amounts, if at all, sometimes when they're the spouses or the friends of the stars. Word on the curb is that it wasn't a PI that got the info. So was Britt a porn star. I don't know. It said, this is really low. I haven't seen Love and Hip Hop do this either. Yeah. Bravo was shaking in their boots. Bravo was like, what we don't need is another lawsuit. And Bravo absolutely did this to pacify Britt, because without it, Britt could have made a claim, sued them. Remember, Bravo has employment law insurance that covers these things now. It would have been another hit to their insurance. It would have been a whole shebang. They would have had to hire lawyers. It would have been much more expensive to defend a lawsuit against Britt Eady than it would have been to fire Kenya. And I firmly believe Kenya will be back on the next season. This actually has drummed up a lot of people wanting to see her back. So I expect Kenya will be back. I don't know if Brittany will be. It's going to depend on how interesting she is. Since the only thing it did was take light from her event. Right. So people were not even, I don't even know the name of her salon, because everybody was focused on this. And the truth is, Kenya really needed those extra episodes to showcase that salon, to get that good advertising, blah, 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 sell those products. I heard great things about her products, but it's just the way she went about it. I think she was so focused on revenge, she didn't think it all through. But now the way that Bravo handled that, I bet nobody else is going to try something like that. No, ma'am, no, sir. Nope. But in the end, Kenya Moore it appears she's gotten off easily. She has not been sued by Britt. I think that shows good faith on Britt's part that she's ready to move on and go on to other things. She's not been sued by Britt about it. Obviously, Kenya didn't sue Britt for the alleged threat. I think that would have been a very weak lawsuit, but I do think that Britt Eady could have definitely brought a strong lawsuit against Kenya for that. And if I were her, I absolutely would not sue Bravo, because you can't sue someplace and work for them simultaneously. We know that don't happen. Gosh, look at Nene. She's still dealing with that. But I may have considered suing Kenya. I think she did the right thing as a newbie by not suing Kenya, because honestly, it would have looked too litigious, and Bravo could have looked at that as an excuse to not bring her back. Like someone said in the chat, she played herself. Marriott said, disappointed she's still defending this mess. She does not see she was dead wrong. Right. So it in effect, in the end, both ladies were wrong. The threat wasn't necessary. But at the same time, Kenya's response was not directly related to the threat. Her response was related to the disrespect that she felt this newbie had been permitted to display by production, and that she had not been better protected by production. But the way to go about it is not to use illegal revenge porn against someone. And it'd be one thing if Kenya had even taken those photos where you could get an idea of what she was doing, but blacked it out. But my understanding is, no, we saw it all. If she had done that, then that could be different. Because it would give you an indication of what happened, but it would not have exposed the ladies' private areas. But again, anyway, thank you guys for the comments. Put your questions in the chat. If I did not... Oh, it's question. Did the federal bill pass for deep fakes yet that Trump's wife introduced to Congress? I don't know. Was Brittany a porn star? I don't know. If y'all know in the chat, let us know and cite your source if you've got one. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you, if you're a single lady, go to a sports bar real quick. Go watch this game. It's going to be great. It could be a great place for you to meet a legitimate caller. Bye, y'all. Have a good night. It's your legal bestie.